Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1967 romantic comedy drama film, The Graduate. Now, The Graduate is a film that is considered by many to be one of the greatest films ever made. When it came out in 1967, it was a smash hit. In fact, it was the highest grossing film of the year. And adjusted to inflation, it actually made almost $1 billion in the box office. Critically, it had a lot of people who liked it, but there were some critics who weren't as fond of it as others. And it's a film that I've definitely been aware of over the years. You know, there was a fair amount of parodies of the film that existed. One of the most famous ones is the ending of Wayne's World 2. But for whatever reason, I never really got around to watching the film until recently. And after just watching it one time, I can easily say that this is a film that is very much worthy of its title as a classic and then some. I loved it. I thought this film was tremendous, and I get it now. I understand why so many people consider this to be a significant achievement when it comes to cinema. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on the film, though, I would like to give a special shout out to Ryan for requesting this review. Now, The Graduate is directed by Mike Nichols, and prior to directing this film, he directed a film called Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which was another fairly successful film financially and critically. And it was a pretty impressive directorial debut, but he then decided to do The Graduate, and then, in my opinion, wound up directing the best film of his entire career. Because if you look at his filmography, there are some other films that he's done that are good, that I like, but there's a reason why a lot of people continue to gravitate towards The Graduate. His direction for this film is impeccable. It's incredible in every potential aspect and area. It's really impressive. Uh, from the opening sequence to the credit sequence is already one of my favorite credit sequences. It's simple, but it's framed and shot in a way that is just really great. And it's just a shot of Dustin Hoffman's character um, on like it's kind of like a treadmill, but it's not really a treadmill. But it's the kind of thing, it's like a moving walkway that's at an airport. And the camera just follows him as the walkway goes forward. And you have the just unbelievable song by Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel, you know, The Sound of Silence in the background. And from the very beginning, you're like, okay, all right, this is something special. And then it just continues. You have the dinner party sequence, which is deliberately shot in a way to emphasize the uncomfortable nature of that entire scene and really put you in the shoes of Benjamin and realizing why he feels like he's trapped and wants to get out of there as soon as possible. And then all throughout the film, the direction is just very dynamic. It's intriguing. It's captivating in its own right in terms of the way that Nichols frames his shots, or he decides to utilize the camera with, you know, a choice pan, a tracking shot, some zooms, or quick cuts, or wide shots. It's a film that from a directorial standpoint was way ahead of its time. Like there are techniques that Nichols utilizes in this film that you still see utilized today. You will see films, you will see in TV shows, you will see streaming shows that have the exact same framing, the exact same setup of their shots as The Graduate. I mean, I was blown away. So Mike Nichols, I think he deserved the Oscar for sure. Like he won the Oscar for Best Director for this, and it's very much well deserved. The screenplay is by Calder Willingham and Buck Henry, and this is a touchy subject because it's a film that is essentially about a young man who graduated from college and winds up having a affair with an older woman who's twice his age who's married. And if you handled it in a different way, if the writers didn't find a way to toe the line as well as they did, this could have been a very uncomfortable, very hard film to sit through. A big part of why I kind of avoided the film for all these years, despite its accolades, is because of that. Because I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't. This sounds like something that's going to be a little rough to watch, like the kind of thing that you're going to watch nowadays, and you're like, ooh, that hasn't aged very well. But that it really wasn't the case because the writers they decided to take the book The Graduate and they decided to have a tone that isn't necessarily light, but it it has intermittent moments of levity. So you'll have some bits of dark comedy that will come through, like Buck Henry's hotel clerk who will ask Benjamin, uh, "Are you here for an affair?" You know, stuff like that, but not to the extent where it's like a straight up like goofy, silly comedy. It's still played relatively straight, and it's still got a lot of serious, dramatic elements in it. And what I really like about this script is honestly a ton of things. But one of the things that I really, really like about it is how the writers write these characters, how they write Benjamin Braddock, how they write Mrs. Robinson, how they write Elaine, how they write the rest of the major players in this particular story. Because Benjamin Braddock is portrayed as a very impulsive young man who's understandably a little horny, and a person who is willing to, let's just say, do some crazy things for love after he falls for Elaine. And the way that he's portrayed, even prior to him going as far as basically stalking her all the way to California, he's portrayed as a flawed character. He's portrayed as somebody who has some character traits that are not necessarily the most desirable, but it never really felt like he was a totally unlikable character to me. And that's definitely something that takes a lot of skill. And on the flip side, Mrs. Robinson, she is a very fascinating character because of just how much she is willing to destroy those around her, how much she's willing to risk in order to trap people in this misery that she has chosen to live through or chosen her life to be. And so when you have Mrs. Robinson as a character, it's definitely somebody who could have been written in a less than serviceable or less than strong fashion. But these two writers write this character in a way that is tragic but also unflinching. It doesn't shy away from showing the darker side of Mrs. Robinson. It doesn't let her just get away with her actions without any consequences. because by the end of the film, she winds up not only losing her husband to a divorce because of her actions, but also her daughter, who decides to turn her back on her and leave her to go be with Benjamin. So it's a script that handles some heavy subject matter, with this older woman who's having an affair with this young man, but it actually does show how in the wrong she is. And I felt that was very important. But it also shows the character as somebody who is very troubled and very just riddled with all kinds of trauma to the point where she is manipulating other people around her to essentially wallow in her same misery. And in turn, it makes what Benjamin does with the whole relationship not feel as uh, I wouldn't say bad, but it makes it feel like there's two sides to it. It's not just Benjamin using her; she's using him, and it really makes you feel for him when he starts to fall for Elaine, and then she's doing her thing to try to make Elaine's life miserable and tear the two apart, and Benjamin is not willing to let it go because he loves her, and love makes you do crazy things. And so he goes to, Berkeley, and he gets an apartment, and he essentially stalks her on campus. And it is admittedly something that's a little creepy, in a certain context. And I like that the script isn't afraid to show that, and I like the fact that it's not an immediate win over. Like, he doesn't win her back immediately. Like, he does this whole thing with Elaine, but he doesn't win right away. And she's still hesitant, and she doesn't even agree to get married. And there's just all these things that uh, easily could have been written in a different way, where, okay, all right, he does all that, and they fall for each other, and so on and so forth. But that's not really how it was handled, so I like that. And it sets up the finale in a very effective way, when he's willing to go even more out of his way to try to find out where she's getting married, and then he's gonna do this crazy thing where he's gonna try to stop the wedding and get her to come with him and be with him and marry him instead. And I like that this script is full of a lot of uncertainty, and I think that's what makes it like one of the better coming of age films. And I think that's what really allows it to resonate very strongly even to this day, because it's something I think a lot of people can connect with when it comes to the story. Is, you're young and you got your whole life ahead of you, and you just got out of college, and you don't quite know exactly what you want to do yet with your life, and you're kind of just drifting, and you're looking for a purpose, and you get roped up into an uncomfortable situation with this older woman, and this isn't something that a lot of people can necessarily relate with, because it's kind of something that not every person has ever really had in their life. I know it's not something I can connect with personally, but the idea of, the uncertainty though, and making mistakes, and then trying to make up for them, and then in the process finding somebody that you really love and you really have feelings for. That is something that I think is almost universal when it comes to people and relationships, especially young love. And I definitely feel that the script handled that very well. And there's a lot of scenes that feature a lot of imagery that could very much be a metaphor for a lot of these feelings and that Benjamin is going through. The repeated scenes of him going underwater and just trying to isolate himself from the rest of the world. If I dive underwater, if I stay here, under the water, then I'm away from all of the stress and the drama and everything that's going on and the pressures. I'm just here, under the water. Nobody can touch me. Nobody can get to me. And the screenplay is very clever in that regard. And then, of course, you have the ending, which I thought was excellent and is a big part of why the film works as well as it does when it comes to the narrative and the script. I mean, just the whole setup, the whole structure of that finale is just perfect to me. From the timing, when Benjamin gets in his car, goes to the gas station, asks the guy for help. He figures out where he has to go to Berkeley first, talk to some of the friends of the guy who's getting married, and then get an idea of where uh, the state is that they're getting married, and so then he has to go in and do some investigating, and eventually, he figures it out, but his car breaks down. And I love the way the music is timed too when it comes to that particular scene when his car breaks down and then he has to run to the church and he's banging on the windows like a crazy person and screaming Elaine's name. And then Elaine does leave the ceremony. And when she's leaving to go to be with Benjamin, it's like a horror movie now because everybody is freaking out, and they're trying to stop her. Her parents are literally trying to hold her back. Her own mother actually starts assaulting her after she says no, because her mom tries to once again drag her down with her. She even tells her daughter to her face, "It's too late." And then Elaine's like, "Not for me." And then, and then her mom starts smacking the crap out of her. She gets away from her mother, and then Benjamin has to fend off Elaine's dad with like a cross. And it's like something out of a vampire movie from around the time. They used to fend off the horde of vampires with the cross. And then Benjamin and Elaine then escape. They get on the bus. And then you have that great moment, that great ending scene where at first they're elated and they're excited. They're like, "Yeah, we did it. We did it. Screw those old fogies. We did it. We did it our way." And then the smiles fade and then they're just left there sitting with the uncertainty, with the idea of what are we going to do next. And now they're no longer related and happy and smiling, and they're just sitting there silently contemplating what they are going to do with the rest of their lives. And it was something that was like a happy accident. Apparently, that's not how the film was intended to originally end. The camera was just left on a little bit longer than the director had intended, and then that shot was there, and it was a natural reaction from the actors, and in a brilliant move by the director. Nichols was like, "That works. That's really good. Let's just end it there." So, yeah, there's a lot to love about this script. The dialogue is also really well done. It's not only something that makes you think, but it's also got some good wit to it. And the characterization is just so rich and so well done from everybody. From Benjamin to Mrs. Robinson to Elaine to even Mr. Robinson. That whole scene when he cusses out Benjamin when he finds out about the affair, and the affair has caused a divorce, and he's understandably pissed off at this kid. Like, you cost me everything. You little piece of shit. Like, you didn't think about the consequences of your little fling. Now, did you? You fuck. Like, like he really, he wants to, you probably deep down probably wanted to, swear more, but of course can't really do that in PG film. But I mean, this is 1967 PG though, and this is a very risque film. That's the other thing. This is a very daring script. This is a screenplay that goes to places that in 1967, a lot of films, a lot of stories didn't necessarily go to. I mean, there's like multiple amounts of nudity in this too, and like it. There's a whole scene when Benjamin takes Elaine to a strip club. So there's a lot of really edgy material in this, especially for the time, but it's handled in a way that's still uh tasteful somehow. Like it doesn't feel like it's tasteless or it's too crass. And I think that fine line that these two writers find when it comes to the whole idea of the film, the concept of the film, and the story is incredible. It really is. It's a really impressive feat because it's not as easy as they make it look, and neither is making the tone of the film click as well as it does, because there are some moments where it is very much like a rom-com, but then there's other moments where it's more of a serious drama, and it effectively balances those two things. It doesn't feel like one is necessarily stronger than the other, or one of those elements feels that out of place. Um, so yeah, I just really loved this film, and a big part of why is due to the strength of this screenplay. And another reason is the cast. I mean, this is such a spectacular, just special cast. Dustin Hoffman in his breakout role, because I think he had done some stuff before this, but not to the extent of The Graduate. Uh, you could just tell from the jump, from the very beginning, from his first scene, that Dustin Hoffman was going to be a a star. You know, he was going to be one of the new big actors for new Hollywood, um, because he was just so talented and so tremendous in this. The way that he showcased the character's nervousness was very natural. The way that he showcased his confidence was natural as well. The way that he just handled all the different nuances of the character of Benjamin, the uncomfortable moments between him and Mrs. Robinson, the whole like, oh, I don't want to get caught, or the whole thing where he doesn't want to be embarrassed, where she calls him out. It's like, oh, it's your first time, it's okay, and he's like, the hell it's not, the hell it is, like, it's not my first time. There's a lot of things about his performance that is just really special and iconic, and he wasn't the first choice. They actually were trying to go for more well-known actors. They screen tested Robert Redford. That was the guy that they were originally wanting to get to play Benjamin, but it just didn't feel like it fit, and it didn't. Like, Robert Redford does not fit the role of this character at all to me. Charles Grodin was another actor they considered, but apparently he didn't really like the paycheck, and he didn't really feel that confident in his screen test or something, and it just didn't work out. And I think Grodin would have been fine, but he wouldn't have been Hoffman. And Hoffman himself didn't even have a lot of confidence that he was going to get the role. Like, he thought, oh, I bombed it. Like, he thought, like, oh, there's no chance. Like, I'm going up against all these other actors. I don't stand a chance in getting this. And apparently, a lot of other people in the industry kind of felt the same way. Like, he's short. He doesn't have the look we're looking for. He doesn't look like a movie star. He just looks like a regular guy. And Nichols loved his audition, though. He loved that he was shy and awkward, and it just fit the character perfectly. And the rest is history. And then you have, Anne Bancroft, who was amazing in her own right as Mrs. Robinson. Um, and there were some other actresses that were considered, but most of them turned it down. Like Doris Day was offered it, but She didn't like the idea of doing so much nudity. The original choice was a French actress named Jeannie Moreau, but that didn't work out. They had these other like actresses that were considered throughout the casting process, including people like Shelley Winters. I cannot see that at all. I cannot see Shelley Winters as Mrs. Robinson. Thankfully, it went to Anne Bancroft, who just did a really good job showcasing all the different layers of her character, showcasing her tragic nature, showcasing how manipulative she is, showcasing how she is able to use her sexuality, her sensuous, cougar wiles to lure Benjamin in, and in a lot of ways, she's kind of a villain, and it's a really great performance. Uh, and Katharine Ross was also really solid as Elaine, who goes through a roller coaster of emotions throughout the entirety of the story in the film, and her chemistry with Dustin Hoffman was really wonderful. And then the rest of the supporting cast is equally as great as the main cast. William Daniels as Mr. Braddock, and Mr. Feeney, from Boy Meets World, and the voice of Kit from Knight Rider, and Murray Hamilton, the mayor from Jaws, as Mr. Robinson, um, Elizabeth Wilson as Mrs. Braddock, uh, Buck Henry is the room clerk, the hotel clerk. Um, Norman Fell, Mr. Roper, from Three's Company as Mr. McCleary, the uh, landlord of the apartment that Benjamin is renting out in California. And then you got like Alice Ghostly, who plays Mrs. Singleman, and yeah, it's just a really great cast from top to bottom. And you got uncredited appearances from other actors like Richard Dreyfuss and Kevin Teige. And speaking of the cast, apparently Gene Hackman was originally cast as Mr. Robinson. But I guess the director didn't like his rehearsals, or something just wasn't working, and then he got fired, and then he was replaced with Murray Hamilton. Murray Hamilton did a really great job, but would have been interesting to have seen what Gene Hackman could have brought to that role as well. And just like with every great film, with every classic film, you got some other aspects of it that are just equally as amazing as the cast and the direction and the screenplay. The cinematography by Robert Surtees is spectacular. It's stellar. It's such a great looking movie. The editing by Sam Osteen is also really strong, really stupendous stuff. Especially for a film from this time, there's actually quick cuts. There's jump cuts. That's not a typical normal thing that you would see in a film from the 60s. And it's typical now, but that's a big reason why this looks like a modern movie despite it coming out in 1967. And then, of course, you had the music by Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel, the songs. I mean, this soundtrack for this is a hit just by itself. Sound of Silence, Scarborough Fair, Mrs. Robinson, just so many great songs on this soundtrack. And then you have like a good score too by Dave Grusin, who would go on to score films like The Goonies many years later. So yeah, I honestly don't have really anything else to say about the film, except if for whatever reason, if you're like me and it's taken you a long time to check this out, or it's been a while since you saw it last, it's a must see if you ask me. It's every bit as great and as grand as all these critics have made it out to be. And I can see why, people still are so drawn to this film, even after all these years. Like, I can't wait to get it for my collection. I think there's a Studio Canal 4K that just came out, and I'd like to pick that up sometime. And maybe Criterion will do a 4K. I know they came out with a Blu-ray, but yeah, I was blown away by this. I really was. But anyway, thank you for watching my review of The Graduate, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.